Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is another episode, and I'm going to be sharing with something that I think a lot of people struggle with, and it's probably a big ass question because I know I struggled with it when I first started gardening. So we're talking in-ground trees. Please smash that subscribe button, the like button, and the bell icon for me, and let's get straight into it, okay? So in-ground trees, big topic, huge topic. I'm going to try and keep it simple for you guys. And I know a really good way for me to learn is from other people's stories. So I'll just tell my story real quick with in-ground trees. Um, I'm a fruit tree guy, so keep that in mind. Okay, I got a bunch of fruit trees and stuck them right into the ground. You'll hear a lot of stuff like you gotta dig twice the size of the hole, fill it with fertile soil, put mushroom compost, blah blah blah. Okay, I did all that in the beginning, and it's a lot of work. So it's a lot of work in the front end. I did all that, and a lot of the trees failed. Now, what I wasn't told that I wish I would have been told is the biggest thing is finding a tree that's going to be good in your soil, not necessarily the tree you love to eat. You'll grow to love to eat it because because it's great to have a fruit tree that loves your soil. It's meant to be there, and then you'll get more of it and you'll grow to love it. So let's turn it around. I'm sorry about the wind. It's a little bit unusually windy today. It's the end of the day. We'll take a little walk outside of the greenhouse and look at some of these in-ground trees as I tell you about my advice for you to plant them. Okay. All right, let's go. First one we have here is a wonderful loquat tree. The unmistakable leaves on that. It's doing very well. It's in this spot for its second year. So that means a lot when we're talking about in-ground trees. When you put a tree in the ground, that first year, all you're trying to do is get it to survive. Okay? You're not worried about fruit at all. Don't worry about fruit. Worry about getting the tree to survive. A great tip is to dig around the tree. I did this mostly to preserve the water flow right here so it doesn't go up farther than this, but also it's good because water will come in here and then go into the soil and feed the tree. And all fruit trees have a root system that's kind of shallow, that's right on the surface, that's all feeder roots. So that's my advice with that. Planting the tree, you don't need to do the thing where you dig the hole massive or anything like that. My advice with the soil and digging the hole is you actually want the tree to touch the native soil right away, because that's what it's going to be living in. You don't want to dig a huge pot essentially in your ground and then fill it with non-native soil, because then the tree is just, when it hits that native soil, it's going to go into shock. So you want to kind of bite the bullet, get the tree to be in native soil right away, and then go from there. So this is a fig tree that's in ground that's doing good. So we'll walk over here. I have some in-ground trees. Now, another thing that I see that I say would be good advice is to think about trees that are going to do well in your soil. So over here we've got a line of mulberry trees they do really well in my soil. So they're all doing really well. I don't have to feed them. I've got this hose hooked up, but other than that, I don't do anything. I get delicious fruits, packed with great nutrition, anti-cancerous medicine, a medicinal fruit, and I really enjoy it. So that's another thing. Find what's going to be growing good in your ground, okay? So that would mean testing your soil. You don't really need to test for everything. Here's another nice in-grounder. You don't really need to test for everything. Mostly just test the pH. That'll tell you pretty much all you need to know. And if your pH has a high acidity, then you're gonna want, and you're in the southern region, then you can go for something like a loquat or a fig. They don't mind that either. They're not too picky. Or blueberries, especially if you're in a more northern climate and you love the fruit. Sorry about the wind. Blueberries, great option. This is a lemonade blueberry. They love high acidity soil. This is what my soil looks like. It's mostly just red clay. It is a 5 pH, so that's high acidity. And I'll show you an example over here. So this is an in-ground apple tree. Now, they don't really necessarily like all my soil or that high acidity, so it has no fruit. But contrary to that, blueberries love that high acidity in the soil, so it has fruit. So, see that? And down at the base, I've got the hose again. This is just a broken hose, and then I just put holes into it, and it's like a DIY irrigation system. Here is the plum tree with only one plum, and that is just an example of it doesn't like my soil as much as the other fruit trees. It'll catch on, it'll establish, but it'll take longer. Here's a persimmon tree in the ground as well. Still very skinny. And it has a good amount of flowers. There's one. Has about probably 20 flowers on the tree. So it likes that soil a little better. Here's some bananas. We'll come back over here. Here is, this isn't a tree, but it is an in-ground raspberry plant that's flowering. And I'm using it as an understory. So with the in-ground stuff, I would say spacing's a big one. You want to at least have some space. Oh, you see this? My compost. Watermelon got dug out of it. There was probably some raccoons or creatures in here last night playing around. But yeah, I mean, you can see I have stuff that I planted in ground everywhere. Here is a green giant thuja. Here is a goji berry in the ground. It likes the soil a little bit, not crazy about it. Here's a beautyberry that likes the soil a lot. It's gonna have a huge harvest this year. So my mistake when I first started, here we'll go back in the greenhouse. So here's some examples of stuff that's gonna go in the ground in the future. Mulberry cutting I did. a loquat seedling. Here's some stuff that will never go in the ground, like my tropical trees. So here's some stuff that would take off in the ground. A tulip tree. Native. Same as all these. All these are birch trees. Native birch trees. So let's go in here because the wind's picking up. So, I hope you learned a little something just from the little walk around, but sorry if the wind made that a terrible audio. I'll have to see, but I pretty much, to recap everything, I would say the biggest thing about in-ground planting trees is know your soil, know the pH, know the tree and what it's gonna like, and then when you put it in, mulch over top of it with old leaves a lot. So trees love mulch. That's why a lot of trees, pretty much all trees, will drop leaves, drop waste bark. They'll drop something to the ground to mulch the ground that they're on, because they enjoy mulch. So mulch it heavy, plant it in that native soil. Don't plant it too deep. A lot of your fruit trees, not your seedlings, but a lot of your fruit trees will be grafted. Never plant below that graft. Here, I'll show you an example of that. It's really hard to actually understand that, so I got two examples. This right here is a seedling tree, which means this is not grafted. This was grown from a seed, never grafted. It's a loquat tree. So you can see it's on its actual stock. That's the tree that it is. Over here, and now this is the case for most fruit trees you're going to buy from nurseries. Over here, if you look, the base of this tree, yep, I suspected this, see, and this might be a factor of why it's not doing too well. It's planted a little too deep. This is the graft union. So the graft union is right here. You can see the roots. So yeah, this could be a big, you see these? This is the root stock variety trying to come up from the soil. And if you plant them too deep like this, you can try and pull this soil back, and I guess this is what I'll do. I'll pull all this soil back, but you should never have it planted to the rootstock, because your rootstock is going to shoot up runners like this. And this is actually a great example, because this is exactly what will happen. The tree's not doing too well. The rootstock's just shooting up runners and trying to create its own little plants. And essentially this tree needs to be higher up out of the ground to let that rootstock breathe, because that's a rootstock is the apple tree that has the good roots that are going to do well in your soil, and then the variety that's on top of it is the variety that has tasty fruit. So yeah, we messed that up. Let's go to another tree. See if we messed it up over here. Okay, no. See, we didn't mess it up here. So here's the variety. Here's the graft union right here. Okay, so below this scar right here is all a different plum tree. It does better in the ground. It has vigorous roots. All above the scar, all up here, is the variety that has a tasty plum. And you want to have room for the rootstock so that it doesn't have any shoot ups or runners or anything. It has room to breathe, And essentially it can just be a tiny tree that's supporting this tree up top with tasty fruit. And then the same with the persimmon. See, the persimmon's still a very skinny tree. It's got too much soil up near its base here. But you can see that right there is where the graft happened. And then on top of it is the tastier variety of persimmon. So that's what I mean with planting them correctly as far as the rootstock goes. So yeah, that can actually be a huge contributing factor to why a lot of your fruit trees are not doing well, that you plant in the ground. Because as soon as you pull it out of that pot, you might, if you didn't know about that graft union thing, you might see that scar there and think, oh, that might be where the base of the tree was. And you might plant it up to that scar because it's like bulbous. And that'll essentially slow the tree down, send up, shoot. It'll be taking energy from the variety you want to put the energy to the fruit in. It's going to take the energy and put it into its own runners. Its own, not runners, but its own shoots. And so it's taking variety from your good fruiting variety up top. It will never work in the long run. And so that's another huge thing. If it's a seedling tree, you don't have to worry as much about that if it's not grafted. But hopefully you guys learned something. Happy in-ground growing. It's something that once you get it, and once you get a good in-ground tree that's producing for you, you realize, wow, like, I'm really working with Mother Nature now. This is a great thing. It's going to be here 30, 40, 50, decades into the future, which is great. And it could feed a lot of people. It could feed more than you. It could feed for hundreds of years. So it's a great thing to do in-ground. Don't let it discourage you if your couple of in-ground trees you just planted died. Take this knowledge and try to recover them. Do what you can. And everyone remember, keep growing. Alright, thank you for watching, everyone. Please subscribe. And I'm out.